Hey folks, today we're talking about something that's very near and dear to me, the Murray-Darling River system and its current crisis. I'm Tony, and today we're interviewing Gareth Barber, who has over 2 decades worth of agricultural experience. Uh, Gareth, would you like to say hello to the viewers?
Hi, everybody. Thanks very much, Tony, for the introduction. As Tony mentioned, I have over 20 years worth of experience in the aquaculture industry and related aquatic industries as well. Everything from lakes and wastewater to aquarium stores, display aquariums, places like your Sydney Aquarium, zoos, everything like that. So I have, for the past 14, nearly 18 months, run my own company, Biotech Aquatica, and we specialize in aquaculture consultancy and equipment supply. So essentially everything from one pump right up to an entire system and everything in between for essentially anyone that has an application in water with fish in it.
So to be safe to say that you have a very nuanced knowledge about keeping fish alive in an artificial environment.
The basis of my expertise and the success of a system solely is based on that. So we need to be able to produce water for these animals that support their growth and health and longevity because we're farming fish for a profit, and therefore those fish need to be farmed at a profitable price. And if they're not growing optimally, if they're dying, if we're experiencing losses or anything like that, that is a big hole in the farmer's pocket, a big hole in their bottom dollar. So yes, that is the exact thing that we strive to do in the aquaculture industry, and that is produce the best quality water to grow or support or enhance fish or fish stocks or the environment.
Yeah, so as my understanding, this market is beginning to really boom in places particularly out west of Australia.
Yes and no. There are some places still sticking somewhat around the fringes, but Northern Territory, for example, Humpty Doo Barramundi is the one of the biggest or the biggest producer of barramundi for consumption in Australia. The majority of barramundi that you eat through Woolworths will come from Humpty Doo Barramundi, for example.
Yeah,
Okay, the
right.
majority of them. Do you remember when the floods were on and the whole of Australia really was cut off? Humpty Doo Barramundi was no different. They were actually harvesting fish and flying them out by helicopter.
Yeah, right.
They harvest. They actually last year surpassed a 50-ton per week harvest. So 50,000 kilos of fish per week they produce.
Yeah, so these are in enclosed systems.
In ponds, yes. So
Mm,
So essentially, this is a system that has no filtration on it,
mm.
and we're just using the balance of the microbial ecology within the pond to gear it towards fish production. Okay, so there's a very nuanced understanding that we need to have of how bacteria, algae, fish, soil, aeration, oxygen, BOD, and everything interact in order to make sure that these fish grow from our little tiny fry, from after we hatch them from an egg, right up to maybe even a 5 kilo barramundi or a 5 kilo salmon or whatever it might be.
Wow, that's actually incredible.
Yeah.
But there is obviously a distinct market for this, and there is a movement away from river and sea catchment of just regular fishing.
Oh, yes, the aquaculture industry as of 20, don't quote me on this, 2020, 2021, somewhere around there, actually surpassed and continues to surpass wild catch. So we surpass wild catch by catching more. We produce more than 50, we were producing more than 50% of the world's protein consumption of fish and seafood was coming from aquaculture. Now I think that's more like 60-40 or a little
Yeah,
bit
right.
more at the moment. Anyway,
So,
it has for the last 20 years really just been a growth explosion industry. It hasn't dipped. It's always been going up.
so you've been at the right place at the right time for the right industry.
It's a primary producing industry. It's just like farming cattle or anything like this. It was a verging industry 20 years ago, but yes, it has proven itself time and time again, and it is a very stable, model for producing food.
Yeah. So how do your particular skills transpose over toward the Murray-Darling River system and its current crisis?
So essentially, in order to produce the best quality water available to an aquatic organism, we need to do a couple of very important things. We need to get rid of the waste, the solid waste. We need to treat the nutrients. We need to ensure there's enough oxygen in the water. And we need to take into account the quality of the water going in, the quality of the water coming out, what our restrictions are for discharge, etc., etc., etc. So although we might be farming fish at 20 kilos per cubic meter in water in a fish farm, there's not going to be that many fish in a river, of course, but the waste problems are the same if we have a large input of waste. And in an aquaculture system, that would be the food that you put into the fish and you get the waste out. In an environmental application like this, it's more runoff and sedimentation and nutrient from farming and livestock and urbanization and everything like that. Replace that, but essentially it's going into the river, affecting exactly the same biological systems that are affected in a aquaculture system, but it's out in the environment, and it's a problem because it's essentially the main vein of Australia.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah,
Well, without further ado, if you'd like to get into it, let's bring on the next set of questions.
thanks very much, Tony.